The first wahine to be elected as the mayor of Rotorua says she has a lot of work to do. Tania Tapsell is the 15th mayor of Rotorua with more than 6,200 votes to her name. And we also know that her closest rival was former New Zealand First MP Fletcher Tabato, securing almost 2,900 votes, although she picked up 6,200 votes for her efforts. Tapsell was first elected to the council in 2013 at the age of 21 and the youngest elected councillor in Aotearoa, with now 3 terms under her belt on the Rotorua Lakes Council. She also ran as national candidate for the East Coast in the 2020 general election. The new mayor of Rotorua, Tania Tapsell, no te Rarawa Ngāti Whakaue, is with us now. Tēnā koe, Mayor Tapsell. Thanks for joining us and congratulations.
Kia ora, and thank you very much. Incredibly humbled by such a great result. I am sitting here in my brand new office as Mayor of Rotorua, and I'm very excited to get to work and serve our community here.
How does it feel to be called Mayor Tapsell?
The official term is Your Worship the Mayor.
Your Worship?
Even getting my groceries last night, you know, the security man who I always have a good yarn with was like, "Oh, what do I call you now? Am I supposed to bow? Am I supposed to?" But you know, I'm still Tania Tapsell. I'm incredibly humbled to have this position that I'm in, and yeah, we'll just go from here alongside a very new council as well.
Well, you know, you can just say, look, no big deal. Don't make a big deal of me. Just your worship's fine. You're one of 3 Māori women elected as mayor. Do you feel Māori women are changing the face of New Zealand politics?
Oh, look, absolutely. But this has been a long time coming. And I think of the appointments of us Māori wahine mayors, there's actually been a lot of hard work that's gone in behind that success. So I think the real success for us is that we are showing other Māori, other wahine across the country that if you're willing to work hard, this is a space for you as well. So I look forward to inspiring the future generation of leaders. I know there are people out there watching. We still need to have our first Māori Prime Minister one day, and I hope that we can do that sometime soon. So kia kaha anyone that's looking at these leadership positions, and know that through the diversity that we bring to the table, we actually make our communities in Aotearoa, New Zealand, a better place for all.
Agree. Rotorua has been in the news over the last little while with emergency housing damaging the reputation of tourism for Rotorua. What do you think you'll do to change this?
Yes, now this has been incredibly disappointing because Rotorua has always been known as an incredibly beautiful place to visit. We rely on our tourists, but unfortunately up to 50 motels are being used for emergency housing motels. Now what we can do here with the council is it's pretty black and white. We have a regulatory responsibility to look after our buildings and make sure that they're being used in the way that they are consented for. These motels are supposed to be used for short-term tourism accommodation, but they've been used for residential living, for emergency housing for well over 2 years. So we do need an exit strategy for that. It can only be done by working alongside government, who obviously is funding this, $24 to $30 million in just Rotorua alone. But the main thing is we need solutions that are going to be fit for purpose for those who are in motels. And often that's making sure that social housing is being built in the areas and the districts that they come from. Because here in Rotorua, we have a lot of occupants that have come in from outside of the district. And that's been the most troubling for us.
Yeah, is this really one of the big problems, the fact that people have come in from outside the area?
Yes, absolutely. Because you put it this way, when we got together all known homeless in Rotorua and we had our very first COVID lockdown back in 2020, we had 2 motels. As I've mentioned, there's now up to 50. So the impact of that has been hugely significant for us. But speaking with some people that do need to use these emergency housing motels, they would have preferred to stay in housing solutions in the communities that they came from, where their whānau are, where their friends are, and sometimes where they also had work or employment. So I think the end end of the day, the only solution is through building more social housing, which is what we do need, because it is getting harder and harder for people to not only afford to buy a home, but actually to rent as well. And these are people from all ages as well, whether you're a young whānau or kaumātua at the end of your life, just trying to find a great place to live with dignity. It's an urgent problem, whether it's councils or this government, and together the leaders of our country need to address this.
Tania, you voted against the adoption of Māori wards in 2021, arguing that, while some councils may need them to ensure Māori representation, Rotorua doesn't. But will you endorse Māori wards as new Māori mayor?
Yeah, so I've had some of our new Māori councillors sitting in this office with me this morning, going through what their top priorities are and what they want to achieve. So while I have voted against Māori wards in the past, we do have Māori councillors now in Rotorua and across the country, and I do want to honour that they have been elected here by their people, and actually what do they want to achieve. So I do want to support them, I will be supportive, but I think the big question is, when we look at how people vote, our local democracy, there were a lot of whānau that were surprised that now with the establishment of Māori wards, they could only vote for, in our situation, only 3 Māori councillors, as opposed to 10 of all councillors at large. We did also see here in Rotorua the loss of 2 other councillors who were of Māori descent and Te Arawa descent. So you always have to be careful what you wish for. And unfortunately, we now have less Māori representation at the council by restricting to only 3 seats. We had 4 councillors before. So the big question needs to be asked on how we move forward to enable better representation, but also enable our whānau, our voters, our communities to be able to support and vote for the best councillors at the table.
Well, as you get comfortable with your position as Mayor of Rotorua, what are some of the key priorities for you?
So certainly sorting out this emergency housing. One of the solutions that were proposed was to sell our local public reserves. I think that'll freak a lot of people out hearing that. And we actually want to reverse the sale of those reserves. So they were proposed to have social housing built on them. We've seen the issues in Rotorua motels, and the solution is not moving them into our public reserves, but protecting those reserves. So those will be 2 of the big ones. But the third one is actually looking at how can we have efficiently working councils that aren't going to be arguing with each other, but are actually going to be tackling those big issues, which is why I'm not even officially sworn in yet, but I've let myself into the building and meeting with these new councillors so we can work together, because you've seen across the country, you know, places like Tauranga ended up with the council removed and commissioners put in because of the level of dysfunction of some of the politics. So gone are the times when politicians should be arguing with each other. Let's tackle the big issues in our communities.
Now, I just want to get this, your thoughts on this before you go. On recent comments made by David Seymour that co-governance divides rather than unites governments, even though the document Act released primarily uses the English version of the Tiriti o Waitangi.
Sorry, I'm not too aware of that issue, but I think in general, co-governance as an issue, the community doesn't quite understand what co-governance is. There is a really important role and responsibility to work alongside iwi partners. Here in Rotorua especially, we've got privately owned iwi land where we source our water from, where we dispose wastewater from, and iwi entities make up a big part of our local economy as well. So when we say co-governance, it shouldn't be scrapped off straight away. We should actually be looking at how can we work together, because again, very often working alongside Māori, helping our iwi entities, helping our hapu to realise their potential and their dreams will always make things better off for the rest of the communities and the rest of Aotearoa New Zealand.
Beautiful, beautifully said. Hey, congratulations again, the new Mayor of Rotorua, Tania Tapsell. Thank you so much for joining us.
Kia ora.